everybody can hear me, correct? All right, guys. Before we go actually to the start of the meeting, what I wanted to do was for us in observance of, we did have a former board member pass away a couple weeks ago, Mr. Esteban Sosa, and I wanted to go ahead and just pay our respects with a moment of silence and reflection. If you can all do that before we go forward. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so effective March 16, 2020, Governor Greg Abbott authorized a temporary suspension of some of the statutory provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Law. This meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Harlandale Independent School District is being held pursuant to this authorization and will limit the face-to-face meetings to slow the spread of the coronavirus COVID-19. See attached open meeting laws subject to temporary suspension. A regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of Harlandale Independent School District will be held Monday, July 20, 2020, beginning at 6:15. It is now 6:17. Central Office, 102 Genevieve, San Antonio, Texas, 78214, via video conferencing. This board meeting will be held via Zoom. Members of the public may access this meeting by the free of charge video conference link by logging into the following Zoom website, https://zoom.us/j/37700695969. Password uppercase HISD. No more than 15 minutes before the meeting. Additionally, the district will provide a live stream of the meeting via YouTube. That link address will be posted on the front page of the Harlandale Independent School District website, www.harlandale.net, the day of the meeting. A recording of the meeting will be made available to the public within 5 business days at the Harlandale Independent School website, www.harlandale.net, under the school board /board meeting videos page. An electronic copy of the agenda packet may be accessed at the Harlandale ISD website under the school board /board book page prior to the meeting. The board may go into closed session on any agenda item if permitted under Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. In such event, the board president will announce the applicable government code section prior to the board going into closed session. Item 1, meeting called to order, a roll call and recording of board members present. I believe everyone is here, and I think you may have the ability to unmute yourself, guys, or no? No? Then let me go ahead and unmute you guys.
I was able to unmute Mr. Moreno.
Okay, let me make sure I got everybody then, because I know I had to get everybody organized. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I do have to my right, down roll call order, I have Ms. Limon.
Here.
Okay. I do have Ms. Cavazos.
Present.
Okay, great. Mr. Mendoza.
Here.
Okay. I do have Mr. Mancha.
Present.
Okay, wonderful. Myself. And Mrs. Ortiz.
She's
Okay, sorry about that. I do know that Ms. Caballo is not available to join us. She is still under the weather and recovering, so she will not be joining us tonight. We do also have a quorum present, and I do have Miss Dr. Castleberry here with us as well. Mr. Soto, moving on to declaration of quorum, moving on to recording the superintendent and staff members. Mr. Soto, if you can identify your staff.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Tonight we have Assistant Superintendent for Business, Mr. Ricardo Hernandez.
There he is.
Okay.
Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Melissa Casey.
Present.
Dr. Melinda Salinas, our Executive Director of Human Resources.
Here.
and our Public Information Officer, Mariana Veraza.
She's there. Sorry.
Here.
Great. Thank you. So moving on to item 2, the public comment. Members of the public may email public.comment@harlandale.net to register to speak by providing name, phone number, and the item, if any, which they wish to speak. Registration shall be sent by 5 p.m. July 20th, 2020. The meeting shall begin at 6:15 p.m. After the meeting begins, each registrant will be invited to speak. Each person must be available to speak when asked or will lose their opportunity to address the board. 3-minute maximum per speaker. Citizens are offered an opportunity to address the board without prior approval. The board president will have the discretion to reduce the time allotment and limit the total number of speakers in order to ensure the meetings is orderly and managed within technological capabilities. The topics addressed shall be limited to those specifically included on the board's agenda and/or district related. The board will not comment in or engage in discussion. Presentation shall be informative only. No board action will be taken. Presentation shall not include statements which may be considered defamatory, inflammatory, and/or threatening against a person or the district. And speakers shall not mention students' names unless naming your own child, nor address a complaint against a district employee or officer. Such complaints will be handled through the guidelines set out in the district policy. At all other times, members of the public shall not enter into any discussion or debate on matters being considered by the board. The board shall not tolerate disruption of the meetings by the members of the audience if after at least one warning from the presiding officer, an individual continues to disrupt the meeting by his or her words or actions. The presiding officer may request assistance from the law enforcement officials to have the individual removed from the meeting. So going down the line, we do have 9 speakers, 3 minutes each for those that are not aware of the process. We have Miss Jessica Martinez. Let me see if I can find her here. Okay, there she is. Sorry. Okay, Miss Martinez, I think you should be unmuted now. You have 3 minutes as soon as you're ready.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Soto. My name is Jessica Martinez, and I am a science teacher at McCollum High School. I wanted to start off by thanking you for your consideration of students, teachers, and staff's well-being and safety by attempting to push the start date of school to August 24th. With the early start date now lower on our list of concerns, educators can get back to focusing on how we are going to educate our amazing students remotely this year. We are also relieved to hear the mayor's mandate to stay virtual until at least September 7th. However, as that date draws closer, many of us will once again become distracted by our concern for our own health and safety, as well as of our students and families. There has been talk of districts forcing teachers to work on campus while students stay virtual, and we urge you not to consider this. While your efforts to purchase hand sanitizer and disinfectants for surfaces are appreciated, I would like to quote epidemiologist Michael Osterholm, who says that he doesn't worry about doorknobs and railings anymore than he would during the regular cold season. That's not what's going to be the major challenge with this virus. It's the air that we share with each other that is critical. The ventilation systems in many of our schools are old and frequently do not work properly. Even masked, I would not feel comfortable having to work in my classroom, where the air conditioning filters are changed only once a year, and with 30 more co-workers in the same building. As a teacher and a mother, I know that my children and my students learn better in the same room with their teacher, but we cannot support learning in an environment rife with fear and anxiety. Life in the classroom will not be as it once was. Educators will be unable to encourage learning through normal relationships with students when we will have to instead act as police, monitoring hand washing, social distancing, and mask usage in our students. I would highly encourage a plan where face-to-face instruction cannot be resumed until there is a continual decrease in the percentage of positive tests within a 14-day time period, especially since children's ages 10 and up can spread COVID just as much as adults. Please also consider that while parents have the choice of virtual or in-person learning, teachers who are parents of young HISD students are being excluded from the decision-making since, like many of the families in our district, we have no other means of childcare if we are forced to come back to campus. For those who are at risk, like my own children and many of my teacher friends, it then becomes a question of how willing we are to risk our lives and those of our families for the Harlandale community we love. There will be no perfect protocols for this extreme situation, but there is, during this time of confusion, we urge you, Harlandale ISD leadership, to keep us informed and make decisions based in science so that we can have enough confidence to focus on what matters.
I still have it paused right there. Did she freeze on us? Okay. Ms. Martinez, you still there?
I am. I
You still
apologize.
got 30 seconds. I apologize.
I have no idea where it left off. Just we appreciate your consideration, and we look for the Harlandale ISD leadership to keep us informed and make good decisions for all of us.
Okay.
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am. Okay. Moving on to Miss Cynthia Thomas. Let me find her real quickly. Ms. Thomas, 3 minutes when you're ready, ma'am.
Good evening, Superintendent Soto, board members, members of the cabinet, viewers watching safely from your home. I'm Cynthia Tamez, the English Department Chair at McCollum High School. Talking with teachers, there is a lot of trepidation about returning to the 2021 school year. Teachers should not be mandated to be on campus or begin face-to-face instruction until it is absolutely safe. We know you're working tirelessly to prepare for the upcoming year as best you can. This is also the time teachers begin to prepare, but too many concerns plague us instead. Watching television, we've been inundated with COVID news, yet very little information has been shared with us from HISD addressing how teachers are to move forward with new school procedures regarding COVID-19. With Mayor Nuremberg's daily brief as an example, an email on weekly basis with an update addressing the changes teachers could expect, even if they might later change, would better prepare teachers and staff. Communication is necessary in these difficult times. Since we will be starting the school year virtually, supporting listening and speaking TEKS through an asynchronous learning environment would be impractical. Students should be required to meet synchronously through a video conferencing platform and be visibly present for all classes at least twice a week, not just for meeting state requirements, but for meeting the social and emotional needs of our students. The first few weeks of school are critical for building relationships necessary for the entire year. 2 live sessions per week can help build community and safety while still holding students accountable for attendance and assignments. In addition, having the teacher present and healthy daily is important for the instruction of our students. So again, what procedures will be in place if a teacher contracts the virus? Will the teacher's entire student roster be quarantined? Will everybody he or she comes in contact with during the school day be asked to stay home? Will the teacher resume classes virtually and use their sick days even if they're not on campus teaching? And what about planning time? Our distance learning, which started in March, required a lot of time to plan, to call, email, remind, post with all students and their parents. Now teachers will need to prepare for both face-to-face and virtual instruction, 2 totally different approaches. Will appropriate time during the workday be given for both, not just the allotted 30-minute PLC, or will even more of our personal time be used? Safely educating our students is everyone's #1 priority. At the high school, when we return, an 8-period day at 15 minutes would allow students time to sanitize the plexiglass if that's the plan. Having all students wear school identification will help to distinguish students from campus visitors, since only eyes are visible while wearing these masks. And updating dress code policy may need to include masks deemed offensive. To end, a task force needs to be set up with teacher representatives to consult with district leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Okay, now we do have Ms. Gabriela Lopez. I believe I have her here as well. I have unmuted you. Okay. Should it work? Sorry. Okay, so as soon as you're ready, Ms. Lopez, you can go ahead and start, ma'am. 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Soto, and all of our Harlandale family. My name is Gabriela Lopez. I'm a proud graduate of Harlandale High School, class of 2010, as well as an English teacher at McCollum High School. I'd like to start off by saying thank you for this opportunity to voice our concerns, and also thank you for what you have already done to keep us safe. In the past couple of weeks, I've had many heart-wrenching conversations with my colleagues, community members, and parents of the district. We have expressed the anxiety and fear that comes with the thought of going back into the classroom. I know firsthand so many teachers like myself miss face-to-face teaching, but we also struggle trying to understand how we can do so without one life being lost. We have questions such as, how can we disinfect our classrooms during a 5-minute passing period? Will we have enough supplies to do this on a daily basis? How can we have a class size that is small enough to feel safe in? Furthermore, I'm worried for my colleagues whose safety and financial security appear to be at risk for reasons such as not having the opportunity to work from home, even while students are learning remotely. Many faculty and staff with health risks have not been given specific guidance on how they will be protected. Many of our teachers are also caregivers and to elderly or immunocompromised family members. We have coaches who have worked summer workouts but have yet to sign a coaching contract for this upcoming school year. These concerns do not even begin to cover the mental health effects of mandating teachers to work in person during this global pandemic. In a regular school year, teachers often deal with stress and burnout. In fact, according to the UCL Institute of Education, 1 in 20 teachers suffer from an ongoing mental illness. Not only are educators prone to stress, but many experience depression, insomnia, and secondary traumatic stress. Now add the anxiety of transferring COVID to our beloved students or our immunocompromised colleagues, and the stress of prepping online and in-person contact with little planning time. All of this to say, teachers know sacrifice. That is not a new concept to us. But in order to be the best for our students, we need leadership to look out for us. Not only should we consider 100% virtual classrooms until COVID numbers go down at a steady rate, but also until these questions are thoroughly answered and there are plans put in place to take care of staff and students, both physically and mentally. Virtual learning has its challenges, but our community came together and did an excellent job in March. And now with experience, technology, and the will to keep everyone safe, I know we can do an even better job this time. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, now we do have another speaker, Miss Natalie Clifford, and I will unmute you right now.
Good evening, Superintendent Soto, esteemed board members, and Harlandale ISD community. Thank you for your time in listening to our public comments this evening. Out of deep love for this district, my students, their families, my colleagues, our dedicated staff, and wonderful community, I'm here to speak in relation to agenda items 5A, 7A, and 7C as pertains to the city's new health directive and its impact on our schools, most immediately in the near future before we begin the academic year, as well as looking ahead into the fall semester. Although we have been informed that staff with underlying health conditions or concerns or who are immunocompromised have the option to contact human resources if they do not want to physically report to work, no staff member should be required to report to campus physically, especially because the city has forbidden in-person instruction through Labor Day. San Antonio had 2,202 new cases as of the end of the day yesterday, July 19th. We were able to deliver instruction from home this past spring, so there is no reason we should need to be on campus physically. It should be an option for those who want so. Furthermore, many of our educators are also parents, guardians, or caregivers and would be unable to juggle or balance those responsibilities if mandated to report in person. The city's new health directive states that school instructors may use classrooms for video streaming if they are alone in the classroom and the building occupancy does not exceed 10%. I urge our administrators, human resources, and district leaders to please not take advantage of the 10% number as an opportunity to mandate that staff report in person, but rather again as an option available to staff if they need access to the internet or want to sporadically work at their campus while following social distancing guidelines. Any staff required to physically be on campus, such as cafeteria workers or custodians, should continue to receive hazard pay. I'll be 30 next month. I've read those stories about people in their 20s who passed away from COVID-19, and everyone I've personally known infected with the virus has been 30 years old or younger. No one is safe from the virus. Additionally, we have a large number of staff who are Latino or African American, and according to data from the CDC, both of these communities are being disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. We don't want to put our staff members at risk. And furthermore, I'm raising my voice on behalf of the number of young educators often hesitant to speak out due to being new to the profession. I also continue to advocate for the creation of an inclusive and democratically selected committee of educators, parents, students, and staff to partner with our district to provide influence on the decisions being made that will affect us. In closing, I also have an ask of my fellow educators on this board meeting call. Now is the time to use your voice and become positively involved in advocating for your own well-being and that of our students and their families. Our working conditions are directly related to our students' economic circumstances. And in the words of the late civil rights icon John Lewis, may he rest in power, there's nothing wrong with a little agitation for what's right or what's fair. When you see something that's not right or not fair or not just, you have to speak up. We've seen educators and districts stepping up across the city, state, and country in recent weeks, but we need all hands on deck to prioritize everyone's health and dignity as we continue to navigate the pandemic crisis. Join us in sharing your story because, in the words of Audre Lorde, only one thing is more frightening than speaking your truth, and that is not speaking. Thank you again to our leaders in our board and community for supporting us all throughout this unprecedented time in our world. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, moving on to Ms. Cynthia Villanueva. I believe now you're unmuted, Ms. Villanueva.
Thank you. Hello, good evening. My name is Cynthia Villanueva, and I have been part of the district for 13 years. One of my main concerns is the district's process in purchasing appropriate PPE for all staff and students. Items such as gloves, N95 masks, face shields, hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, Lysol sprays, etc. I hope the expectation of finding these materials is not left at the hands of every teacher in the district. We know that teachers are extremely generous, but at the moment, some of the materials needed are difficult to find and costly. In regards to the health of the administration, students, and faculty, I want to bring your attention to a story about an Arizona teacher that made a significant personal impact. The headline from NBC News reads, "Arizona teacher dies of coronavirus, 2 others sharing classroom also infected." The educators took extra precautions and followed the CDC guidelines and more, but still got sick. Kimberly Chavez Lopez-Bird and her coworkers were teaching Hayden Wilkinman Unified School District's virtual summer school to kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade students from the same classroom. Lopez-Bird got sick in early June, but was told she had a sinus infection, which was not odd for her. According to the article, she kept working, but she also kept feeling worse and was finally encouraged by her daughter to go to the hospital. On June 13, Lopez-Bird tested positive for COVID. The next day, she was put on a ventilator, and on June 26, she died. Her son told NBC News, "It is not fair to the teachers, it's not fair to the students who will take it home to their parents. We can hold off on bringing kids back into the schools. We can do that. It's not worth risking people's lives." Jeff Gregorich, the superintendent, agreed by saying, "Right now is not the right time to open schools in the middle of a pandemic. We believe medical experts should drive opening of our schools, not politics. Lives will be lost if we open school now. America can't afford the loss of another Kim. Therefore, no staff should be expected to report to work in the buildings physically until health officials clearly state that the risk for community transmission is low." Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, moving on to Ms. Maricruz Martinez. Ms. Martinez, I believe you are now able to speak without mute. Okay.
Hello. Good evening, Superintendent Soto, School Board, Dr. Castleberry, faculty, staff, and community. My name is Maricruz Martinez. I am a community member, mom, union leader, and HISD educator. First, I would like to say thank you to all who attended HEA Student Safety First motorcade yesterday. All students, families, and educators' lives are at stake. We need for all to hear us, really listen, and make needed changes in the safest direction. We should not take a chance on losing not one student, one family member, or one educator. When I say educator, I mean every and all employees of the district that do their part to help the district run smoothly, and those that do their part to help educate our students, who are our future leaders. Through no fault of our own, we are going through this very trying time. We know that at our district level, your hands are tied in many areas. We know you await those with local and state power to be able to make those changes at the district level. Thank you for making our students, families, and educators' lives a priority. I ask that you please protect all those teachers that have underlying medical issues by giving a choice of teaching virtually from home or teaching virtually on campus. All of this, I state once more, is no fault of our own, yet several teachers have already taken the difficult choice of resigning, feeling it was either their life or their career. I know other teachers dealing with this same issue. Thankfully, they continue to hang on, hoping for a lifeline, a choice from our district so that they could keep doing what they love and remain safe from the virus infection and quite possibly death. In the spring, when COVID hit hard, we began working remotely. All employees were at the ready to do what our district asked of us. We are now going into a new school year and COVID remains. In fact, COVID has gained strength and the numbers of those infected is growing daily. Whoever is saying the virus does not attack children or young adults is speaking lies. This virus attacks from infants to the elderly and all ages in between. Many in our city have lost their lives or are currently fighting to live. Virtual learning has been extended to September 7th, 2020. Will COVID be controlled by then? Will there be a vaccine? We should not put a date stamp on life. We need to remain virtual until all variables of the CDC standards and local metro health guidelines are met. There needs to be a true downward trend in COVID virus cases and hospitalizations before we even begin to think about bringing students back to classrooms for face-to-face instruction. Please keep all HISD employees employed and paid. Again, I reiterate, all of this is through no fault of our own. HISD employees at all levels are dedicated to our profession, district, and students. As always, please let them know our district will take care of them as many support staff remain worried. For all those listening, please reach out to city officials to ask them for more help in our communities with food, rent, eviction notices, and for those affected by unemployment. My sincere condolences to all those who have lost loved ones due to the COVID virus.
Thank you,
Thank you for your time and support. We are all in this together. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Moving on to Ms. Juani Torres. As soon as you're ready, ma'am, 3 minutes.
Hey, y'all. Good evening. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. My name is Juani Torres. I was the valedictorian of McCollum High School in 2009. My sister was a valedictorian in 2011. And I've had the pleasure of working or learning from many of you. I am taking my time today to join you because I am very concerned by so many of the pleas and calls that I have received and the families I have been assisting for the past 4 months, especially in our community of the South Side. There's a lot of need, there's a lot of fear. And we all know that education and school is something that is core and is a priority for so many of our families. However, it is very hard to focus on that when there isn't enough food on the table, when there is no access to the internet, when there is the choice that so many of our Southside families, our Harlandale families have to make between making a paycheck, being at home with their kids and taking care of them, or learning. So I ask that Harlandale ISD leads. We don't have to wait for another school district to do the right thing for us to do the right thing. I have been fairly impressed with you, Coach Soto, as I know you, because you are taking steps that are different than others, and I appreciate it. But I think right now more than ever, we need to take that fierce, bold step in saying, you know what, we're going to lead with compassion. We're going to lead with health first. We're going to take care of not only our families and our students, but our educators, who themselves have family members that they have to take care of, that are in vulnerable populations, that have children that are trying to make ends meet too. It is not an easy choice. Believe me, I have had hundreds and hundreds of calls in the last few months. I have been trying to disperse resources to undocumented families, many from Harlandale ISD, who have lost their jobs and cannot apply to unemployment. They are our members of our community, and they're waiting for your leadership so that they know how to best move forward. Now with that, it's not simple enough to say we're not gonna open up the schools and we're gonna let people tune in from home if they don't have the resources. I know that y'all did a great job because my family still attends Harlandale. I have little cousins, primas, that are in middle school and high school and elementary school in our district. And I was very grateful that y'all offered hardware. However, if they have no access to the internet at home, it is no good. So we need to back up our decisions with the resources needed. And I and others who have graduated from our Harlandale ISD, who are going out there and being proud of our South Side, are here to serve as a resource and help us together as a community lead. So I ask you again, please take into account the health and the well-being and the compassion and the care that our families need, because nothing will be worse than losing some of our family members due to this virus without our support. So thank you. Gracias.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. All right, moving on to Ms. Julie Gimbo. And I believe now you are unmuted, ma'am.
Okay, here we go. Thank you. All right, here we go. Good evening, Board President Moreno, Board members, Superintendent Soto, and Cabinet. I'm Julie Gimbel, President of HATSTA. As of Sunday, there are 1,199 COVID-19 positive patients in area hospitals, with 431 patients in the ICU and 299 on ventilators, according to city officials. Latinos in the Southside area of Bexar County is being hit the hardest. I'm here to speak to you on the safety of our students and staff. The health department has momentarily made the decision for students not to return to campuses till after Labor Day. HEA would like for you to consider for students to return to campus until it is safe to do so. We cannot put a timestamp, and we need to do what's best for our community. Students and staff should return when there is control of this virus, peaking, or a vaccine. We need to learn from our other countries and not allow for history to repeat itself here. Human life is valuable, and we do not want to risk any lives to this horrid virus that does not discriminate. It is believed that in-person instruction is the best environment for most students, but I'm here to tell you our teachers are very creative and resourceful, and will find means to make sure every child continues to learn. We have some of the best and most resourceful teachers in this district, and need to be afforded this opportunity to teach remotely. Why not take the time when teachers return and provide them with the professional development that will help our students be more successful remotely? Some of our teachers are very technology savvy, so allow teachers to have their own PD at each campus to teach and learn from one another. We do not need to rush bringing in students. Also, give students the option to work from home or the classroom and follow the CDC guidelines. We need to be compassionate as we ride this pandemic. Some teachers are single parents and may not have the support for someone to care for their child. Others may have underlying conditions. We are going through uncharted waters, and we need to show compassion to our employees. Please remember, some people may not show symptoms and may have the virus. We need to be considerate of our students and their lives, and the lives of their parents and brothers and sisters. We need to keep all our students and safe during this time. So I hope that Harlandale can take this bull by the horn and show the rest of Bexar County how our district chooses to treat our employees and keeping them safe. Thank you.
All right, moving on to our last speaker, Ms. Susan Salinas. All right, as soon as you're ready, Ms. Salinas.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Soto, and the community. I'm Susan Salinas, TSTA staff, speaking tonight on the appalling response employees are receiving from the benefits office. This district sent out a late email in June to employees asking them to inform the benefits office, I quote, employees who have an underlying health condition or don't feel safe coming back to work must contact benefits. Employees and parents received a survey regarding their preference for face-to-face and virtual learning. Another email was sent to employees explaining the different choices for virtual learning. The meeting has been explaining the TEA guidelines regarding remote learning, and more online information from TEA can be learned. With all that information, a reasonable person would conclude that the district will be offering remote learning and virtual teaching. TSA encouraged their members to follow the district's FAQ and let the district know they had an underlying health condition, and under the CDC guidelines, they were asking for an accommodation to virtually teach from home. The shocking response from benefits was, we don't have any virtual positions at this time. If you cannot report to work on that date, then you'll have to take FMLA. What an insensitive answer to provide. This response, of course, has made a pandemic and a panic inside the teaching profession. I know a teacher from Morrow who just retired because of her health. A teacher reaching out to newer teachers found 3 teachers who had underlying conditions. When they reached out, they were told the same thing. One person from Terra Wells has already resigned. 2 others are thinking about it. I've had calls from teachers who are pregnant and worried about their unborn child, other teachers who don't have an underlying condition but are taking care of elderly parents or babies. They fear taking the virus home. With the rise in cases in Bexar County, there is no reason for anyone to be at the campuses. Every person who's professional can do their job at home. Paraprofessionals can be assigned to a teacher or a group of kids and offer virtual assistant. Bookkeepers and secretaries can work from home too. Cafeteria workers, custodians, maintenance workers, and the police are essential workers and can perform their jobs as they did in the spring with premium pay. There is no reason to have teachers virtually teach in the classroom. The only reason that comes to mind that you would ask that is you don't trust them. If that is the case, then put in protocols on how they work from home. TSC is demanding that the district do the right thing and allow those who want to work from home to do so. We encourage you to talk to local and state officials and ask for assistance for our community. Ask them to cancel the rent and mortgage payments, implement a suspension on the evictions, provide direct cash assistance for our community members who are out of work. We ask you to make the commitment for remote learning and virtual teaching for at least the first 9 weeks of school. Allow educators to choose to work from home or their classrooms depending on their own health and family situations. Let's put the safety of our students, the community, employees first. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, yes. All right. Moving on to item 3, announcements. A, retirement ceremony video. Mr. Soto, I don't know if you want me to take that to Ms. Baranza.
Yes, can you give her share screen capability, sir?
Okay. All right. So you are allowed to share now, Ms. Baranza. Let me make sure that you have. Okay, now you should be able to speak as well.
Okay, perfect. Let me pull it up for you.
Yes.
So we just want to thank everybody that was able to make it. A lot of people weren't able to make it to our ceremony, but the ones that did, we hope that you enjoyed it and we were able to give them a plaque and a little cupcake for everybody that was able to attend. So the people that weren't able to attend, we are actually sending the plaques to their respective campuses and also their departments.
All right, great. All right, so before we move on to, let's see. Okay, now we're back. All right, so before we move on to the next item, I did want to address the retirement ceremony. I know you guys did a great job in putting that together, and it's great to know that we do value our staff in more ways than you can imagine, and we do appreciate all that they do and the contributions that they've been able to do and the resilience that they've been able to show throughout the last year. And we're really appreciative of the time that they've been able to spend with our kids. And I know we weren't able to give them a proper send-off as in years past, but in lieu of the whole situation that we're in, it's great to know that we still were able to provide something in sort of a remnant of a way to show all the great people that deserve the recognition that we do appreciate them. I don't know if anyone else would like to share anything before we move on.
Elaine.
Ms. Limon?
Elaine. Elaine has her hand up.
Okay.
She's not.
You should be able to now, Ms. Ortiz. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Moreno. I'm sure I not only echo your sentiments, but I'm sure that the other board members feel the same way in reference to the dedication that all of our teachers and staff put with the district and their retirement ceremony. I wish we could have been there. What I would suggest, because when I was new and back in December, after the first semester, I asked if we could recognize retirees per semester as opposed to per year. And I know that who would have thought that we wouldn't have been able to recognize them all at one time in person like we did in 2019. Nobody would have expected that we would be under these circumstances, but should circumstances arise that we can recognize retirees per semester, so maybe in December or January, that there might be an opportunity for an in-person recognition. And but I just want to echo Mr. Moreno. Everything that you said was, I feel it wholeheartedly, and I think that we can't give them enough recognition for all the years and dedicated service to the school district. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to share their sentiments as well, or?
Yes, may I, Mr. Chair, please?
Yes, go right ahead, Ms. Cavazos.
I can't say more than what my colleagues have already expressed. I only wish you health, peace, tranquility in your new journey, and may your endeavors be bright, full of blessings, and I hope we meet again. I hope we all meet again. So congratulations to all the retirees, and go and enjoy and do what those of us that are still working can't right now, so that when our day comes, you will be the ones we're gonna go look up to for tips and suggestions and how to keep us young even past our retirement. So enjoy it, and congratulations to everybody.
All right. Anyone else, guys, before we move on? Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and move on to item number 4. The board will be reorganized for the 2020-2021 school year. I did want to just share a couple of things. I know we had referred to this back in May that we would be coming back to this item. In doing so, I do want to just share with the group and with everyone that's viewing. We have been a board that has been able to, see many things that have occurred within the last year. We've been able to endure and to work in a positive fashion, and I entrust and I feel confident in any one of our myself or my colleagues in being able to continuously lead our district. And I do feel confident that each one of our board members that represents our community do have the leadership skills to continue to show that progress that we've had to encounter through the last year, and then specifically with the pandemic that's going that we're currently in. So with that being said, I would like to make a motion to nominate and approve Ms. Norma Cavazos for the presidency for the 2020-2021 school year. Would I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, second by Mr. Mendoza. Okay. Remember that this motion is amendable, it is debatable, and does require a majority vote. Any discussion beforehand? No? Okay. So we're going to go roll call order. Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Cavazos, yes or no? Well, first, do you
Yes.
accept? Sorry about that.
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right. So, Mr. Mendoza, yes or no?
Do we have a maybe? No, I'm just kidding. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Ortiz, let me see. Are you muted still? 1 second. Okay. Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Mancha, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And myself, yes. So congratulations, Ms. Cavazos. We
Thank
definitely
Congratulations.
know that
Thank you
you
very
bring
much.
Congratulations, Norma.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll save my little speech to the end. I got to think right now. But thank you very much.
Sure. Let me see. Mr. Resendez, do I need to hand over the hosting duties now, or do we continue with that particular order for the next officers? I don't know if I can see Mr. Tony
He's
Resendez.
muted, sir.
Yeah, I'm looking for him. We have a good crowd today. Okay. Mr. Resendez, do I need to hand over the hosting duties now?
Yes, at this point, since she's now been elected as board president, it would be the good time to go ahead and transition to her so she could take the nominations for the vice president and secretary.
Okay, so let me see. I do see that Ms. Cavazos, you do have the hosting ability.
I do. Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms. Limon?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to recommend Elaine and I Ortiz for the VP school board.
What?
Can you repeat that, please, Ms. Limon?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to appoint Elaine and I Ortiz for the vice president school board.
Do I have a second on that? I will second that, if I may.
Sure.
Can I make a motion?
Yes. Go ahead, please, Mr. Mendoza.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Moreno as vice president of the school board.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Do I have a second on Mr. Mendoza's motion?
I'll second that.
Mr. Mancha, second? Okay. We're going to then, Mr. Resendez, please redirect me if I'm not on track, but we will vote on Mr. Mendoza's motion first. Is that correct?
It needs to be.
You gotta unmute him.
I'm finding him. Give me 1 second. There we go.
Okay, so since we're talking about board officers, it's okay to do either one first. It's really not a substitute motion, just an alternative motion.
Okay.
First motion, see how that goes, and then if that doesn't pass, go to the second motion, or vice versa.
Okay.
Day, whichever person gets a majority vote. Now, if there is no majority vote, then who is currently vice president would stay that until that changes later.
Okay. Okay.
I hope that
So,
helps. Okay.
thank you, Mr. Resendez. So let's take the motion that's on the floor that was made by Ms. Limon and second by me. So I'm going to ask for the vote. Mr. Mancha, yes or no on Ms. Limon's motion?
Not at this time.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no?
No.
Mr. Mendoza, yes or no?
Not at this time also.
Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Ortiz, yes or no? Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, Ms. Ortiz. Okay, there, Ms. Ortiz. I'm sorry. My apologies. I'm still figuring out the maneuvering on this. So yes or no, Ms. Ortiz?
Yes.
And I'm the last one to vote, and my vote is yes.
Madam President?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'd like to clarify the vote that said not at this time. Does that mean that they are abstaining or no?
No.
Or yes?
No.
So you're not abstaining, or your vote is no,
My
gentlemen?
vote is no.
Okay. Okay. So we've got 3-3 on Ms. Limon's motion to appoint and nominate Ms. Ortiz to vice president.
Yeah, Resendez.
Mr. Resendez?
So you need a majority for it to pass, and that's not a majority, so you go on to the next motion. Yeah, so
Okay.
not passed.
Okay, thank you. So we are going to now take the motion that's on the floor from Mr. Mendoza to nominate and appoint Mr. Moreno as vice president, which was seconded by Mr. Mancha. Okay. Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
No.
Ms. Limon, yes or no?
No.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mendoza, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mancha, yes or no, sir?
Yes, and can I explain to you why I would like it to be, for him to be the vice?
Yes, sir.
Can I do that, Tony?
Yeah,
Mainly
that's
'cause
fine.
At the area that we're in, I would think you need a vice president that can assist you with some of the things that are already going on and that are happening, instead of having two new people that it's going to make it a little bit difficult to understand what's going on. So that way you can have a backbone that you can rely on and you can back up and say, hey, well, you know what? Am I doing this correctly? Am I doing that incorrectly? Instead of having two new people that won't be able to work and or understand or be pushed into doing something that maybe it's not the right thing to do, or maybe at the time it's not the right thing to do. That's my personal opinion, and that's the reason that I said not at this time. I think Ms. Ortiz would be a wonderful president or vice president. It's just not at this time. I think, you know, since we're picking you, I think you need somebody that you can rely on.
Thank you, Mr. Mancha. I appreciate your words. Thank you very much.
May I?
Yes, Ms. Limon.
I understand, Mr. Mancha, where you're coming from, that, because we are new, but we are a board of 7. So we go pick on everybody's brain if we can to assist. And we have a great superintendent and a great lawyers to help us and guide us with this COVID-19 process, with our teachers and staff. And I think having this great administrations to back us up would be great. There's no reason for us to pull back. We've been here already, we're going on what, 12, 13, 14 months as board members. I think that we have a great administration that could help us. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Limon. Anyone else?
Well, Ms. Ortiz.
Ms. Ortiz, yes, ma'am.
Yes. Madam Chairwoman, I just want to say that I, in fact, have a backbone, and I would very much support you in and this board in the things that we have to do. I know it's a very trying time, but I am confident that we will get the superintendent and the staff and his cabinet to support us and lead us in the right direction and provide information to the school board members for during meetings and in votes and doing what we need to do, what's right for our teachers, our staff, our students, and the entire district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. Mr. Mendoza, you were going to say something, sir?
Well, yeah, you know, and Elaine, I echo Juan's saying that you would make a good president, a good vice president. But I think what he was talking about, the backbone, it's not that you don't have a backbone, but it's that we need somebody that's going to have the experience, that has gone through all of what we've gone through. Ahorita, Ms. Cavazos hasn't, and she's going to be in a learning experience, and it's going to be tough for her. And that's why he was saying that he was saying that we need somebody that can back her up. And it's like I said, it's not that you don't have a backbone. You're a tough woman. I know that. But it's just so we can continue moving forward. You know, we need somebody that has the experience, that's been there before. And then also one thing that Ms. Limon said, and I'm just going to go very brief on this. And if you want to discuss it later, we can discuss it one-on-one. But we are a team of 7. But here lately, as what I've seen, it hasn't been a team of 7. It's been a team of 3 and a team of 4. So we'll leave it at that. Anybody wants to discuss it, they have my number and I can discuss it further with you. But those are my feelings on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mendoza.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to cast my vote, and let me, if I may, Mr. Resendiz, let me know if I need to redirect my own self, but I have yet to cast my vote on this motion. I think all of us are capable of doing what's best for our district. I know for a fact we all have good intentions to move forward and do what's right for the students. The students have to be number one, as they have been in all of our endeavors with this board. I do believe that Harlandale is ready for a bit of change, if I may. Maybe not drastic change, because none of us like that, not in our homes, not in our professions, certainly not with the school district. We are going through somewhat uncharted territories, and each of us are having to learn as we go along. Administration is doing that. We're doing that as board members. We are certainly doing it as parents. Teachers, students, we're all having to learn to maneuver in this uncharted roads that COVID has dropped on our laps. With that being said, I do believe that Harlandale is ready for a little bit of change, for a little bit of shake-up, if you may, all for a good cause, all for moving forward, all for keeping the trust within each of us, the trust within our administration, most certainly the trust with our community and our teachers. With all due respect, I have been on the other side of the table, and I have been watching you all for the years, and I appreciate and I am thankful for where you led us. Like I said, we all start with good intentions, and let's hope we stay with those same good intentions. But I personally am ready to see a little bit of a shakeup, a little bit of a change, just a little bit of a different point of view. And I respect Mr. Moreno, and I hope that I can still count on him for guidance and to bounce something off of him, because not only is he a great leader, he is a great educator, and he is certainly a great mentor. And he welcomed me along with all of you with open arms. And I'm certain that he will understand where I'm coming from, and that I can lean on him when I need to. With that being said, and with all due respect to each and every one of us in this board and administration, and most certainly with all due respect of our community, I vote in favor of Ms. Ortiz for the seat of vice presidency. Now, Mr. Resendiz, we're back on the same boat from what I can tell.
So just to be clear, Mr. Moreno was up, and you're voting no for Mr. Moreno.
Exactly, yes. Mm-hmm.
So then that fails because there's no majority. So then
Yes.
nominations can be made for other individuals, or this may be a time for you all to.
And Madam Chair, I also
Yes,
didn't
sir.
vote, so we want to make it official.
Okay, Mr. Moreno, I apologize. I'm sorry, Mr. Moreno.
And
Yes,
I just say yes. And I'd like to actually make a subsequent motion, I guess you could say. I'd like to table the reorganization for Vice President, Secretary for once when we do have a full board and Ms. Carrillo is available. Do I have and that's my motion.
Yes, sir. Do we have a second on that? On Mr. Moreno's subsequent motion to table the vice president seat and the secretary seat until we have a majority of the vote in a meeting?
I'll second it.
Mr. Mendoza, second it? Okay, well, let's do the vote. Ms. Ortiz, yes or no on Mr. Moreno's subsequent motion?
No.
Mr. Moreno?
Yes.
Mr. Mancha?
Yes.
Ms. Limon?
No.
Mr. Mendoza?
Yes.
Okay. And
Can we
myself?
discuss? Oh, go. I'm sorry.
What?
Well, I haven't voted yet, so I'm under the impression that we need to discuss before I vote, Mr. Resendez, is that correct?
No, you can vote.
No,
Okay.
you can vote.
Okay, thank you. So my vote is no, I do not want to table this for a later date.
Can we discuss?
Yes.
Mr. Resendez got muted again.
Can we discuss?
Yeah, so that motion failed, motion to table failed. So you're back where you were to take more nominations, or if no nominations ultimately are successful, then the current Vice President, Mr. Mancha, would stay, and then you would move on to Secretary, or you may want to move to Secretary now, and then you can go back to the Vice President, but those are your choices.
Do we need to, Mr. Resendez, do a motion to move to the Secretary position and then return to the VP?
You don't need to necessarily make a motion. You can just take somebody's motion if they have a nomination for that position right now. You can.
Okay. Well, then I would like to move.
Or nominate?
Yes.
Okay.
To nominate Ms. Elizabeth Limon as Secretary of our board. Do we have a second? Do I have a second?
Madam Chairperson?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to second your motion for Elizabeth Limon to be the secretary for the the end of the next school year,
Okay.
or whatever the term is.
Yes, thank you. Okay, well, is there any discussion, or can we move forward with the vote? No discussion? Is Mr. Mendoza present? Oh, yes, I see his hand. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move for the vote, please. This is on my nomination for Ms. Elizabeth Limon as Secretary of the Harlandale ISD School Board. Mr. Mancha, yes or no, sir?
No.
Mr. Mendoza, yes or no?
Oh,
No?
no.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Moreno, yes or no?
No.
Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
Myself, my vote is yes. Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
Yes.
So may I ask a question, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir, of course.
Mr. Resendez, so in lieu of the situation here, what situation do we have? I know we can go forward and continue the meeting, so we won't have any holdup, and we can continue on with the current officers in place. I know I'm okay with that. I don't know what guidance you can provide for us and how we can proceed forward so we can continue on with the other issues at hand.
Yeah, so that is an option to, at this point, no further. If nobody wants to make any nominations, or if everybody believes that we're not going to be able to reach an agreement or a majority on either one of those positions, you could put it on an agenda item for the next meeting when all 7 board members are here. You can do that. Or further nominations for other individuals can be made. if you all wanted to do that.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
that's
Mr.
you.
Mancha.
I want to nominate Ms. Ortiz for secretary.
Do I have a second for that?
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Okay, Ms. Limon is seconding that? Okay, so we're going to go and call for the vote. Is there any discussion on that before we begin? No? Okay. So this is for Mr. Mancha's motion to nominate Ms. Ortiz as secretary of the board. Second by Ms. Limon. So Mr. Mancha, yes or no on that vote?
Yes.
Mr. Mendoza, yes or no, sir?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
I'm abstaining.
Ms. Ortiz is abstaining from voting on this, and my vote is no.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Yes, motion carries. So Ms. Ortiz, you are the new secretary of the board.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So,
Madam President.
yes, sir.
Mr. President, so if we want to continue, we can still have Mr. Mancha as vice president currently. Can we go forward with that? Or what would
You could go forward with that, yes. Because those
Okay.
are the current positions, unless other nominations want to come forward, but yes, you could.
And then we can table it for next month's meeting.
You could always reorganize at any time, yes. You could put an item on the agenda for that, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do I need to make a motion for that?
No.
No? Okay. So then I will go ahead. We will table the vice president position for next board meeting. Be on the agenda then. Okay. We're going to go now to item 5, and that is information and discussion items. A, instructional continuity, back to school plan presentation. Is that Mr. Soto?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I want to have Melissa Casey present to the board and the community. Again, we want to thank the staffs and the community and the parents and our children's flexibility and patience as we go through this time. As we know, it feels like it changes every hour. We had some decisions made by our commissioner Friday at 1 o'clock. CNI has been meeting and was well planned on what we want to present today. And so hopefully a lot of questions are answered with this presentation. And we are scheduled to meet with our principals tomorrow morning. And then we do have a task force that has been set up these last couple of weeks by our CNI department. So she'll go into detail on those. Ms. Casey? I think she's going to need screen sharing, Ms. Cavazos.
Okay. Let me see. There.
Yes. President Cavazos and school board, Mr. Soto, and of course our community that is watching. We have been looking, like Mr. Soto said, we have been waiting for guidance from TEA as well as our local authorities. And as most of you know, there was an update on Friday. Prior to Friday, our plan was basically what the guidance that we're given. And so we have multiple plans, and I believe we're ready for anything that comes forward. So one of the things that we've asked for the board today to reconsider is our updated calendar. Of course, because we were deemed a year-round district at our last board meeting, we have to rescind that motion to we're going back to a traditional calendar with your approval. And that would push new teacher orientation back to August. We have that as a hybrid, and what that would look like is the teachers from each campus coming in, one campus at a time or two. So we have very small groups where they can meet their principal, and then they would leave and the rest of their training would be online. Our returning teachers will begin August 14th, and our plan is for that to be virtual as well. And then we have campus days for August 14th, 19th, and 20th with a hybrid. And what that means is that we would have the bulk of that training in a virtual manner, but we will have teachers that will come to campus because they will need to pick up materials that they might need to teach. They may need different kind of instructional materials, books that they have in their classrooms that they may need for home when they're teaching. Our district PD days will be virtual as well. And then our work days will allow for teachers to come as needed. And of course, and pretty much that will be on their own time. Then our Meet the Teachers will be virtual as well. And then our first day of school will be August 24th. What we're looking at, we did a parent survey and we did a staff survey. And so we kind of picked out the big kind of most important things to share. And what we did is we asked some questions and we asked, what's your comfort level that describes your current feelings about students coming to school in August? We had over 2,000 responses. And as you can see, overwhelmingly, we had parents who are not comfortable sending their students to school until the pandemic is over. And we had 1,512 of the 2,000 responses. We had another 433 parents that said, I'm comfortable given if protective measures are in place. And then we had another 112 that says, I'm comfortable sending my student to school. We asked, what kind of instruction do you prefer for your student? And we had, of the over 2,000, we had about 1,500 say they would like a virtual model where all of their teaching is done remotely. And then we had another 560 that asked for traditional in-person. We asked, what do you need in order for that to be successful? And we had some parents that said a computer device, we had some that needed internet, and then we had almost an equal amount saying nothing at all. Basically, I'm ready to begin that process. So one of the things that the city of San Antonio did late Friday, as most of you knew, we had an update from TA Commissioner Marath at 1, and then we had, of course, the city of San Antonio give an update. And what Bexar County said, what they said is that Bexar County schools would conduct remote learning until September 7th, that classrooms could be used for video streaming if the instructors are alone and the campus couldn't be at more than 10%, and that no in-school sponsored events or activities could happen on or off campus. And that includes the strength and conditioning, which is we're no longer having students come to the campus, and of course, band and spirit. And we're still waiting for UIL to make a decision on fall sports or extracurricular activities. And that the school system will develop health and safety protocols. And so that is something that is currently being developed. So that would put us at, when you look at the red on this calendar is 2 weeks of what the city says we can't be in face-to-face instruction. What TA did is TA initially said you have a 3-week transition window, and during that window you could limit face-to-face instruction, which would put us at September 11th. And what they did on Friday is they extended it to 4 weeks. So our recommendation is that we begin the 4-week transition period where we are 100% remote, and that would take us into from August 24th all the way to September 18th. What TA also did on Friday is they said that you could plan to extend the remote instruction through a board resolution. So basically we would come back to a board meeting, and in the event we see that numbers aren't decreasing, and we don't see that COVID is slowing down in our community, we could actually extend the remote learning for another 4 weeks with the board resolution, and that would bring us from September 21st through October 16th. What that extension also requires is that we develop a transition plan for the district, which the goal is to increase the number of students in face-to-face instruction during that 4-week period. TA has made it very clear their goal is to have students on campus. We very much echo the concerns that we heard today from our community and from our teachers, and yet we do know we have these parameters in place that we're required to meet for funding purposes and for requirements out of TA. So within that transition plan, we can say these are the parameters. If we have a decreased, by so many % in our community or in the zip codes of Harlandale, then what we could do is we'll increase the number of students in face-to-face instruction. We could look at specialized cohorts. We could look at, it could be a random piece or it could be parents that opt in. And so that would actually take us all the way into our 3rd week, or actually from October 16th, where during our transition, we would slowly begin to bring students back to campus. but the majority of our students, if not 100%, if COVID doesn't improve, would be at 100% remote instruction with your resolution. When we're looking at transitioning back, we're looking at percentage of kids and facilities. So the our current health department set a 10% limit when they talked about this current, with teachers coming back. So if we looked at 10%, we could look at possibly the parents that opt in for face-to-face instruction. We could look at schools that identify students that need help beyond the remote instruction, that maybe that doesn't work for them. Or we could look at students based on data, and we could do that with a 25%, or we can do it, of course, when we go to 50%, looking at an A-B alternating. The goal throughout this, as TA has told us, is to increase students at face-to-face instruction. I think the key component is that at any point, parents will have the ability to say, I want my student in face-to-face instruction 100%, or they can say, I want my student in remote instruction. And what we have found in talking to parents is we have parents that have both preferences. Parents will have the option of moving their child from in-person to virtual and vice versa every 9-week grading period. And one of the things that's going to be important to note is that it may cause a result of changing the teacher of record, which is not an ideal situation, but I think all of us understand this is a less than ideal situation. What the district is going to do at this point is we submitted a letter of intent for asynchronous instruction. And what that means is that it doesn't require for students to be present when a teacher is actually teaching. This gives us some flexibility with attendance, which helps our funding in ADA. We had one teacher, Ms. Tamez, speak about this. And actually, we are looking at a plan to, even though our overall plan is asynchronous instruction, we are in fact looking at opportunities for kids to engage with their teacher in real time that would be embedded within our plan. So within the asynchronous instruction, we are looking for a minimum of a number of lessons that would occur in a synchronous kind of time. So we do have that face-to-face. We understand that relationship is very important, and that's probably going to be our biggest struggle engaging kids. July 20th, today, TA released a plan, a template that we could look at, and we need to submit that to TA by October. And then what we'll do with our plan is TA is actually going to score it. There's a rubric, and then they'll send it back to us, and they'll say, these are the areas you need to improve with your plan. These are the things you haven't thought of in your plan. And we will basically go back and forth with our plans with TA until it's approved, and it has to be approved by December. And then one of the things they also did is the district has to develop a committee, basically with a plan to mitigate COVID. And that looks like, what do the screeners that staff have to do? What do the screener students have to do to come on campus? What happens when we do have a positive case? And so this committee is going to start meeting. It's going to be comprised of staff and parents. And so we'll start working through those, and that we will be working on very soon. We started the process, and the committee will be developed starting tomorrow. The other option is staff. I think everyone has clearly heard we have two very key components in this. We have our students and we have our staff. And one of the things that we cannot do is educate our students without our staff. And so there's a few things that need to be considered. And first of all, employees of school systems, like employees of any organization, must meet the expectations set by their employers. And that would be our district. So we do have expectations for teachers. I did put a note in this, and I think it's important for us to just be very transparent during this time. But during transition time, a disproportionate amount of staff are required for any percentage of students at school. For example, 25% of the schools on campus may require nearly all of the staff depending on the student's needs. It will also impact the teacher workload. So if I have 10% of the students there, that doesn't necessarily mean I'll only have 10% of the staff. And so that's just something I want everyone to consider. As we start bringing in students, we will have to bring back staff as well, of course, with every precaution to mitigate COVID. When we ask the staff, kind of the same questions we asked the parents, how comfortable are you coming back to school? We had about 60%, less than 60% say, I'm not comfortable at all until the pandemic is over. We had almost 198 say, I'm comfortable coming to school now. And then another 500 said, I'm comfortable, provided we have precautions in place. And so I think today we heard predominantly from teachers who were not comfortable. We do have a few that are comfortable, and we understand how everyone has these opinions, but I did want to share that part. And this is just kind of a sample. So this is not at all like, if you take a picture of this and share it, what I'm going to share it with people is this is a sample. So if we have, say, 0% of our students and in face-to-face instruction, so our first 4 weeks, we'd probably eventually have principals, administrative team, probably on assigned days, if not their daily. Our counselors and social workers would probably come on assigned days because we're going to be looking for kids, making contact with kids, supporting families. Classroom teachers would be voluntary on assigned days. So if we have a principal come in on a Tuesday, and that's when teachers could come in if they volunteer to. And then of course, our special programs teachers and our paraprofessionals will probably be remote. Now, once we start increasing the number of students on campus, you're gonna see that we will need more staff. We'll need our principals on campus and our administrators. We're gonna need counselors, and counselors at that time will have students on campus to support, as well as the students that are working remotely. And so we're going to start having to transition adults as we transition students. And I just want to kind of make everyone aware of that. By the time we're at 50% to 75 and 100%, we're looking at the majority of our teachers back on campus. Keep in mind, by the time we're at that, we're looking at hopefully seeing quite a bit of the numbers decrease for an extended amount of time. We're not going to see what we're seeing now with the COVID surges, and we're hoping that our city kind of directs us through that piece. This is very flexible. As Mr. Soto shared, this has changed from day to day. Our plan last week differs dramatically from our plan this week. Some of the safety precautions that are already in play and that they've been ordered, they're going to be ready to go, is we have plexiglass barriers, student desks, the labs and office areas. We do have adult masks I believe we have between 6 to 8 per adult per staff. We have student masks, we have face shields for staff, we have thermometers, we have hand sanitizers, and then of course we'll have COVID self-screening protocols. So these are some things we already have in place. These are things that if we started school, on August 24th face-to-face, which we're not, this would be available to all of our schools and in our classrooms. I know that there are questions such as, well, how are we going to keep our rooms clean in between passing periods and that type of thing? That's something that our committee is going to be working through, and those are pieces that we'll work through as we move through this. This is basically just the overview of kind of what we're looking at. We will be starting 100% remote for the first 4 weeks, and then depending on where we're after that, come back to the board to make a recommendation on whether or not we continue that 4 weeks in a transition period.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions or want to make a comment?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Moreno.
Yeah, so I know in looking through this and kind of the discussions that we've had these last couple of months, unfortunately, we've had to continuously use, and this is the kind of the analogy I've used, we've had to use the back of a pencil in terms of erasing over and over again. But we are at the mercy of TA and at the governor's office, the commissioner. They have to make the decisions in terms of how we structure our template to return. We definitely hear the concerns of our community, and we definitely hear the concerns and the focus on our safety of our kids and our staff members. I can say, just based on experience, based on understanding the nuances that come with it, we are ahead versus other school districts in terms of our plan. I can attest to that for sure. Versus some other school districts, they might have an ideal or an idea on what's in place, but for the most part, they do have it where they have it in place to go. But the main thing I would say is just reassuring and making sure that communication to our staff is echoed. I know you guys have done a good job in providing that, but I know there's been some issues in regards to how it's been communicated, because it is tough, because a lot of the time the information is being relayed from the local media. It isn't being necessarily relayed from us. And we are asking for surveys and we are asking for input. And unfortunately, sometimes that information can't get to all of our community members or our staff members. But that's the same issue that we have in every school district. I know, and as I mentioned in a previous meeting, you know, the idea of what I'm expecting or what people are expecting, virtual is going to look completely different from what it did in the spring. It's not going to be somebody puts an assignment and you can do it at 3 in the morning. The idea is going to be, you're going to be live with those kids for 4 to 5 hours potentially, or maybe even less, depending on what we have structured. But the idea is that TA, from what I read and from what the component said, we have to do 100 or 180 to 240 minutes continuously. And then they can do, you know, self-guided on their own as well. But that as well is changing continuously as we go through. So, I mean, I would hope that, you know, people are understanding of that and know that we definitely have the best foot forward. I don't know if Mr. Soto would like to share anything in terms of, you know, what is the idea in terms of giving staff the opportunity to make that choice, to make the decision when it comes to, you know, returning to class, because I know there are some teachers that would prefer to do the remote learning teaching in person versus, you know, being at home. But that's, you know, obviously at the discretion of the staff member and the teacher and particularly the campus. So I don't know if Mr. Soto can share with that.
And I'll chime in, but I think Ms. Ortiz has been wanting to speak, if but she's muted. Yes.
I'm so sorry. I apologize, Ms. Ortiz. I apologize, Ms. Ortiz. I was more focused on Mr. Moreno's input of things, and so I apologize, Ms. Ortiz.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to go on record as saying that I think that we have an opportunity here to show the community that we support remote learning as much as we possibly can. The directions that we're given by TEA are certainly something that we have to take into consideration and to follow in order for us to get funding from the state. And I know that right now we see that we could possibly go through October the 17th, but we need to take that a step at a time. I can't wait to see the resolution and to vote for it to remain remote learning, because the pandemic they said that it would go down because of the heat, and it has only served to double, triple, quadruple. Bexar County is at its highest number of people that are testing positive for COVID-19. And I just think that as long as we can, I'm available for special called board meetings to do what's right, to do what's in support the superintendent and the staff for everything that they need to do to make it safe and healthy environment for our teachers, our students, the staff, and be as careful as we possibly can. Thank you, Ms. Cavazos.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Soto.
I hope it's allergies. If you guys can hear me, I think sounding kind of bad, but either way, I want to thank the staff, rightfully so, for them doing their due diligence and homework to be able to do the research, to be able to provide our kids that one-on-one device, and also researching the connectivity. I believe somebody had a question about the connectivity. We would not be able to provide 100% remote learning without the board supporting these actions. So I also want to thank the board for moving forward with some of these items that we have brought to you guys recently. And that if we did not have that avenue of allowing our kids to be 100% capable of logging on, we would not be able to provide this service. We would have to open our doors. So I want to thank the team, the whole HISD team, to being able to allow our staff and our community and our kids to be 100% remote learning if need be for 8 weeks. So I commend everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Soto. Anyone else? If I may, I'm going to add, as a parent, my children are older, doesn't diminish the concern that I have for their well-being and for their health. I can totally relate to what concerns the parents in our community have, and more so the teachers, because I see those teachers as, you know, our children's advocates, our, you know, foster parents, if you may, during the hours that our kids are with the teachers. There are more hours in the day with them than they are at home with us. And so I hand off my children, and I did hand off my children to these teachers because I knew they were going to, you know, look out for them and what's in their best interest, not just for education, but to create a well-rounded individual of my children and those of the community. So I can relate to your concerns. I can relate that you go home and you have family, and you certainly don't want to expose them to anything that you don't have to. I will have to shadow what Ms. Ortiz said. I am also of the mindset and the wanting to do remote for as long as possible, but I am aware that I am only one voice, and I am aware that we need to stay in our lane. And I am very well aware that there are higher ups within our state and our legislature in our city that will have to redirect us if we don't follow what their recommendation is. I understand that politicians certainly do not know better than physicians, but it is unfortunate or fortunate that we do depend on the state for the funding, you know, for our meals, for our technology, for our resources, for a lot more than we can anticipate that we need them for. So I just want to put it out there. By no means is your concern less than my concern. I am a parent, I'm a community member, and I certainly know the responsibility that we put on you as a teacher to care for our children. And the only thing that we can do is be responsible for your well-being as teachers and staff, you know, the entire district as a whole. So I want to thank you and know that we are listening, we are paying attention, and we are most certainly concerned. But, you know, we're in this together. We've got to do it together. We have to do it as a whole so that we can do what's best for not just the kids, but for those that are watching our kids during the day when we can't. So thank you to our staff from the top to the bottom. Everyone here has a part in that, and I am very aware of everyone's concerns, and your concerns are my concerns, and I just wanted to throw that out there. So thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Mancha.
Great job. Great presentation. Now I'm going to be the devil's advocate here.
Yes, sir. As you can.
if a teacher that's got the kiddos in there gets the virus, is that going to be something that's going to be considered work related?
Mr. Soto, you want to answer that? Or Ms. Casey?
At this time, ma'am, this would fall under HR, and we do have.
I was going to say Ms. Salinas.
Ms. Salinas,
So
I found you,
Dr.
Ms. Salinas. I found you, Ms. Salinas.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mancha. The question was about a student who.
No, ma'am. It's about a staff member. It's about a teacher. Let's say this teacher goes to the classroom. This teacher gets the virus from the classroom. Now, you know how expensive it gets, especially if they put you on all these machines. I've seen some bills where it gets up to the $1 million branch. Now, is that considered work related? Or is pretty much, are we saying, hey, teacher, you came on your own and you're on your own?
Well, sir, there's a series of questions that we have to go through with each staff member because we can contract it going through a drive-through. I mean, we don't know exactly where they're getting it. So there is a list of questions. Yes, if we can determine that it was contracted, at work, then yes, it would be considered work related. But if we can't distinguish that, then no, it would not.
So it's a flip of the coin.
Well, it depends on the situation, sir. If somebody came to work and they were infected and didn't tell anybody, and then other people were with them together, that would be contracted at work. But again, it just depends.
Okay, now let me put it to you a little bit different. Now I got little Juanito there, and he's in the classroom, and he contracts the disease. from playing around with his buddies, is the district liable for this child?
I don't want to answer a question on liability. But you know, again, I think that's why Ms. Casey mentioned we're going to have parents who want to have their child at school. It's a risk that we're taking. Even the staff members who choose to come.
No, and I understand that,
It's
and
a
that was
risk they're taking.
that a lot of them brought up, and that's why I appreciated the presentation. The presentation just gave us a lot of good feedback. A lot of teachers do want to come back. A lot of teachers do not want to come back. A lot of them are still concerned about it.
Sure.
Now, my concern is, are we going to be held accountable for any of this? Or is it pretty much, since you signed on the dotted line, you're on your own?
I don't.
My biggest concern.
Right, sure.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Soto. Yes, of course.
Mr. Mancha, thank you for the questions and meeting every day with the Bexar County superintendents, and we have several attorney firms there. And like you're kind of giving us questions, we give them all kinds of questions. And to be honest right now, sir, we're going to have a lot more questions than we do have answers, as probably Mr. Resendez could probably attest. His law firm is one of them, one of the many that are on there. And it is going to be, you know, a case-by-case basis. Mr. Resendez, I don't know if you want to say anything.
Sure, I could chime in. In general, Mr. Mancha, it is going to be a case-by-case basis. Obviously, in general, school districts are immune from certain causes of action, personal injury causes of action, things of that nature. However, if the district is aware and doesn't do anything about it, and we're deliberately indifferent or something, then there may be some concerns. But in general, if we're following the state, TEA, all the precautions and protocols that the district is working hard at putting in place and doing everything we can to protect the kids and the employees, then I think, you know, the district will be okay. Unfortunately, it's not just a district pandemic or a state, it's a worldwide.
No, and that's my biggest fear.
Yeah, and so and I'll tell you, in terms of legal specifics, there's a lot of unknowns. You know, you asked a great question about workers comp. Is it going to follow that of an employee? We don't know all the answers yet. You know, so time will tell in terms of what the courts and what ultimately decisions are going to be made. But I think that the main thing is that the district is doing everything they can to follow the authorities, follow the TA guidelines, follow the state guidelines, follow the protocols that we set in place, follow the board direction that you guys give your staff. And that's the best we can do. You know, now if somebody does get it and the facts are clear that the district knew and didn't do anything about it, then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And as Ms. Salinas mentioned, you know, tracing and tracking down where an employee actually got it, that's tough. It's tough. But again, you know, there's, like Mr. Soto mentioned, there's a lot of questions, a lot of unknowns. But all we can do is as I think someone mentioned, you know, we care about the staff, we care about the students, we care about the community. We're not going into this with our eyes closed. Some family members are comfortable, and those surveys and statistics were really helpful.
Yeah, they were. I mean, I really appreciated them. I didn't think they were going to be that high as far as they do want to come back, but I kind of liked that a little bit, you know, so that's why I was just a little bit just throwing it out there. Just in case it has never been brought up.
No, it's good that you know, those questions have been brought up, sir, but it's good that they're actually brought up now at a public board meeting in your community, for your community and your staff and employees to know that you're thinking about those things, and the staff is as well. And the reality is, again, there aren't answers to all those questions, not yet. And each situation, believe it or not, is very unique and very different. It really is. So it's hard to give a general statement one way or the other. But I can assure you this, I know your staff, and I know that you as board members want to do everything you can to be careful and to be safe. But it's going to be tough because we're balancing, you know, your local health authorities, the TEA, the mayor, the county judge, the state, the president, you know, all these authorities telling us do this, do that. So it's tough, but it's literally, you know, going to require that the community and the board work together, be patient, be supportive. Because I know Mr. Soto is working hard to do the best he can to make sure that the district is in the best position it can be in terms of moving forward in the fall. So I hope that helps answer a little
No,
bit.
no, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Ms. Salinas.
No, that's okay.
No
That's why I'm
problem,
here.
sir. It's a case-by-case basis, no problem.
Thank you. Any other discussion, or can we move forward to agenda item 5B? Okay. Agenda item 5B, that's meal distribution update. Mr. Soto? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Limon? Yes, ma'am.
That was 4B.
Oh,
No,
no, I
there was
think
an
it's,
update.
Oh,
there was an update. Yes.
Good.
But thank you for watching my back. I appreciate that. We got to collaborate. We got to watch each other's back. So again, agenda item 5B, meal distribution update. Mr. Soto, please.
Yes, Ms. Cavazos, we can unmute Mr. Hernandez. He has an
Yes,
update.
sir,
As
Mr.
we sent
Hernandez.
out. We've closed a couple of sites down. Okay, and I have Mr. Hernandez that go ahead and explain. Mr. Hernandez?
Okay, thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. The report that was included in your board book included not last week, but the week before. The total meals served in breakfast was 113,479, and for lunches at the end of the full period of the second and last week was 134,054. Bringing a total of meals served was 247,533. We're proud of what our staff has done. The staff also took the initiative to show and present their efforts throughout this period from the COVID all the way through the summer. It's been posted on the webpage. It's been posted on the on Facebook, on the district's Facebook page. Very proud of them. They took the initiative to do that, to let the community know what they've been doing. So again, we'll send the last update in this week's HH for the last week that they served meals, and we'll see this number go up as well. And that concludes the report, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Any questions or comments? Yes, Ms. Ortiz, I'm coming, Ms. Ortiz. I'll get better at finding everybody and unmuting everybody.
This has to do with the delivery of meals in the district. There was a wonderful video, and I just kudos to whoever did that video for our frontline people that were distributing the meals. I just want to give hats off to whoever did that, because these are tremendous number of meals that are being distributed at the school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. Anybody else? No? Okay. We're going to move on. We are now at agenda item 6, consent items. 6A, approve the June 15th, 24th, 2020 board meeting minutes.
Madam Chair.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Moreno. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Just for us to kind of move a little bit swifter.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items A through O.
A through O.
As listed.
Yes, sir. I will actually second the motion, if I may.
Madam Chairman, Chairwoman.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'd like for item O to be taken out for discussion.
Okay.
So I'll make a subsequent motion. I move to accept items A through N with the exception of O.
Okay. Does anybody want to second that?
I second.
Okay. Ms. Limon will second Mr. Moreno's subsequent motion. Okay. We're going to take the vote. Mr. Mancha, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Mendoza, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So we are going to, we just, motion passes on approving consent items A through N. Okay. We're going to open for discussion. Agenda item 6O.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Ms. Ortiz, yes.
yes, Madam Chairwoman. The only thing that I have been expressing concerns are for the medical classes that were offered at
Madam Chair, we need to
McCollum.
approve before, we need to make a motion
Make a motion to,
to approve or discuss.
Motion and discuss.
okay, I'm sorry. So,
I'm sorry.
Ms. Ortiz, do you want to make a motion, please, to discuss agenda item 6O?
Sure. I'd like to move that the board delegate the authority to the superintendent to issue school district teaching permits for non-certified individuals being considered for positions in non-core academic, career, and technical education courses in accordance with district policy DBA legal.
Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Mancha. Thank you. And thank you for helping me maneuver through this, my first day on the job. So I appreciate that.
All yours, Ms. Ortiz.
So my question is I have been asking for a good period of time. My concerns are with the medical assistant class at McCollum High School not having a teacher, that they spent a good number, I know at least the spring semester with a permanent substitute, and then the American Sign Language teacher had not been filled. And now I understand that the teacher at Harlandale High School for the medical assistant class left as well. And so I'm glad to see that we are finding a way, or at least it appears that we're finding a way. And so I just wanted to ask Mr. Soto
Ask me.
what we're doing.
Oh, okay. Ask me what the agenda item is. Yes, ma'am. After researching, HR was very diligent in researching how we can find that medical staff. It's been Harlandale's history where HR was proud to always say that they were 100% highly qualified. So we would not go this route because we always found a teacher that was certified. So we got to take a step back. We just won't be able to say that we are 100% highly qualified until whoever gets hired in this position ends up getting their teacher certification. Once they get their teacher certification, we can go back and say we are highly qualified. So it's basically a waiver that we're asking the board to approve. It can be up to a minimum of 3 years to have this individual get their certification.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments or questions?
Yes, Ms. Cavazos.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Moreno.
Yeah, just to kind of Mr. Soto, I know you kind of reaffirmed that already, but I know we would have to send a notice to our community members in regards to the highly qualified positions, correct?
We usually present it in our DPERC and our CPERC, and HR, we end up sending that notification.
After 30 days, sir, you're correct.
Okay.
After 30, we have 30 days to, right, if they're not certified by then, we do send a letter out.
Okay, and then in most cases, you know, we do try to encourage our potential staff members to get certified or to pass the test. And I know some of these tests are a little bit more cumbersome than most anticipate, but we do, I know, do our best in recruiting these individuals for these positions. I know in a lot of cases that these positions are very just difficult to kind of, I guess, sequester in and find those individuals. So I know that's one thing that we're always kind of fearful, is having the possibility of sharing with our staff or with our community that perhaps not everyone is potentially certified for that position. But we must do what we can in order to support our kids and providing them those academic settings.
Oh.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Mancha, were you going to say something?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Any other questions, Ms. Ortiz? Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Soto or Dr. Salinas, do we know how many classes we're looking at that would fall under this category? Or, I mean, just off the top of your head, do we know, or we don't?
I can't tell you how many teaching units, but I can tell you it's for both health science classes that we could utilize this for, as well as American Sign Language. We can use it for any non-core academic CTE class.
Okay.
So if
Thank
it
you.
counts for a core class, we can't do this. Right.
Okay.
Bless you.
Yes. Any further comments or questions? Okay. We can move forward with the vote. Is that correct, Mr. Resendes? Okay. Ms. Ortiz, yes or no on consent item 6O?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mendoza, yes or no? Oh,
Unmute.
I'm coming.
There
Yes.
you go.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mendoza. My apologies. Mr. Mancha, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And myself, yes. So consent item 6O passes. Is approved. Okay, moving along. Now we're having agenda item number 7, individual items. A, discussion and possible action regarding approval of letter from the Harlandale ISD Board of Trustees to the Governor of Texas concerning opening of the 2020-2021 school year and COVID-19.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Correct
Yes,
me.
I'd like to make a motion to discuss and make possible action regarding the approval of the letter from Harlandale ISD Board of Trustees to the Governor of Texas concerning opening of the 2021 school year and COVID-19.
Yes, sir. Do I have a second on Mr. Moreno's motion?
Second.
Mr. Mancha, second? Yes, sir.
Okay, so in kind of presenting this, I was able to meet with the various groups that we're a part of, one being the Go Public and the Bexar County Coalition of School Boards, and we had the consensus and the thinking that perhaps it would be best use of our time and our efforts to collaborate and to see what we can do to gain the, I guess you could say, the ear of some sort of capacity of the governor and our commissioner. What we're focused on is uniting in numbers to illustrate the needs and concerns of our communities and our staff members. Now, the letter has been kind of adopted by the Bexar County Coalition, and it has been sent out in last week. I know other school districts such as Northside have also adopted it. I know one of our leaders in that group is Mr. Bobby Blunt, and he's the one that has kind of helped to orchestrate this and maneuver us through this potential type of alliance. And so when we're going through the actual item, I don't know if you guys got to peruse through it, but we're really focused on the items that our staff, that our community, that we're requesting. We want to have the ability to be able to shoulder some of those issues, but we also need the support of our commissioner of education, and we also need the support of our governor, and giving us the authority to make some of those decisions in conjunction with our local leaders here in San Antonio versus it being a state level type of decision. A lot of when you read through what we have in terms of asking for leniency and asking for more support, more than just the 8 weeks, asking for the potential of having ADA funding for the whole year, not necessarily just for 12 weeks, as is mentioned throughout the TA information that's relayed to us, but really just showing that we need the support, because we're not able to use our time and our resources efficaciously, because unfortunately our hands would be tied, because we're based on the directives that the TA commissioner and the governor are giving us. And so this is just us showing in unity that we are in conjunction with our community and staff. We're there with you, and we're there also asking for resources. I know they're asking and they're saying that they're going to provide us with certain issues of PPE, but how much of it are they really going to be able to allocate to us? Not only that, but now we're having a lot of unfunded mandates that perhaps we have to consider. I know we've asked for reimbursements, and I hope that we can, whether it's with the CARES Act or whichever that related to COVID-19. I hope that, the investment that we made in our kids and our communities in regards to all the measures that we've initiated are going to be, recognized and also reimbursed, because those are things that could impact the longevity of us being able to continue on with distance learning. And so there's just also measures that we're asking for. Just as everyone's asking questions, we're wanting that guidance because we want to be able to make those decisions for our community as a whole. It may be something different versus South San, South Side, versus Edgewood versus North Side versus Northeast. We want to be able to have that ability to say, hey, this is what's available for us when it comes to remote. This is how long we need it. And perhaps it's affecting our area a little bit differently versus here, or maybe we can have more of an idea to actually have more time in remote learning. So that's pretty much the premise of the letter, is asking for more local authority from our vantage point so we can make the best decisions for our community versus having someone else in Austin make the decisions for us. That's really what it comes down to. And that's what we as a coalition have decided is the best or the next best route for us, because we didn't have a lot of this information from Friday, but even that some of those updated information items are not necessarily, they do have time expirations. And so we're asking for them to hear us and to know that we're committed to protecting our community and protecting our staff and protecting our students most importantly. So hopefully with this is just one aspect that we can show our community that we're united on that specific front.
If I may also just add a few things, that a lot of times it does look like the board is being, for lack of a better word, wishy-washy in its decisions. But please understand that, you know, we are focused on doing one thing and preparing for that one thing, and then in a couple of hours things change on us, and they change on us because of what's coming from the state and the governor's office and the commissioner of education. So please don't misunderstand if at some point things seem like we're changing, you know, constant, but it's just we have to plan with what's given to us, and sometimes limited things are given to us. So they give us a little piece of information and we run with it, and administration does its best to plan for what they're telling us are now the guidelines, and then maybe a couple of hours later, guess what? Those are no longer the guidelines, it's something else. So please keep that in mind, that it's not that we can't decide what we're going to do or shouldn't do. It's sometimes we can only move forward with the little information that we are given from the state, and I just wanted to know that, because sometimes I know it does look like, what are they doing? How, you know, they're changing these things. It's a calendar. It's not a calendar. It's, you know, this is a starting time. It's a lot of information thrown at us at once, and at times it's very different from the couple of hours they had just sent us prior. So you know, kudos to administration for picking up and going the minute that there are changes that need to be made, so that we can be prepared and plan and stay focused on what the student outcome and their success should be. So just wanted to share that, my thoughts on that. Ms. Limon, did you want to say something? No? Okay. Anything else from anybody? No? Okay. So we will move with a vote that is on agenda item 7A. Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mancha, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mendoza, yes or no?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So motion passes. Agenda item 7B. Do I have a motion for that?
I'd like
Yes,
to
Ms.
make
Chair.
a motion.
Ms. Ortiz, yes, ma'am.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, I would like to move that the board rescind the designation of Harlandale ISD as a year-round system due to the rising numbers of COVID-19.
Do I have a second? Is there a second?
Second, ma'am.
Mr. Moreno seconds. Okay. Any comments or discussions?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
So I know a lot of us had some initial concerns, obviously, when the numbers rose in terms of the totality here in San Antonio. The idea behind the year-round system was based on trying to get and maximize the ability for our kids to be able to learn potentially in person. The idea now is that we've seen with the rise in the numbers that unfortunately that's not going to be something that's feasible at the moment. And so it's in the best interest of us as a community to weigh this option and to utilize what we have at our disposal, whether it's the 4 weeks or what have you, but to go forward and rescind the designation of Harlandale ISD as a year-round system, and hopefully we can provide the necessary support for our staff and our students, which I think we've already actively showcased. So I'm good for that.
Thank you, sir. Yes. Anybody else? No? Okay. We will move forward with the vote. Mr. Mancha, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mendoza, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Motion passes. Agenda item 7C. Do I have a motion for that?
Madam Chair?
I'll make a motion.
Yes, sir. Mr. Moreno?
Okay, go ahead and move to approve a new start date for the 2020-2021 school year based on rescinding Harlandale ISD as a year-round system designation.
So is there a second?
Second.
I second.
Mr. Mendoza, seconds. Very well, we're going to move forward with the vote.
Well, one question, Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Moreno. Yes, tell me.
Just so we can clarify for community and staff and for our students, Mr. Soto, can you just re-emphasize the start date and potentially when the staff would be, via Zoom and all those other items? Could you kind of reaffirm those days for us or re-emphasize it?
Yes, sir. We would be starting August 24th would be the first start date. As presented earlier, I need to go back to my board book, but it does have on our board book when new teacher orientation begins and teacher returns, when the teachers return. Let me hit back.
I think it was like the 12th or the 17th. Was it the?
Yes, sir. New teacher orientation would be August 11th through the 13th. Returning teachers would be August 14th.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno, on that for clarification for the community and for myself. I'll need to know when my daughter needs to go back to school. Any other discussion or comments or questions? Okay, we'll move forward with a vote. Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mendoza, yes or no, sir?
Yes.
Mr. Mancha, yes or no?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So motion passes. Going now, yes, sir.
I'm sorry. And I forgot to ask this, but it's fine either way. But if I could, Mr. Soto, would you know, I know we still have, are we able to change this if, things happen and things are altered? I know you kind of mentioned that, but just to reaffirm it, we do have that ability for at least a couple of weeks, correct?
To change the start date, sir, or to change?
Or no, just to change the days. I mean, we have to have emergency closures and such.
Yes, we can add some emergency close, but as of right now, my understanding, and Melissa, I'm gonna have Melissa unmuted, but my understanding is I don't believe we're gonna be able to have any emergency closures and get ADA. If we go to closure, we go to 100% remote.
Okay.
So we have to be ready to go 100% remote at all times. So if we do have we're having a spike. If it gets any worse or they do close us, we are expected to be 100% remote and not have a closure at our school.
At any time, Mr. Soto, we're able to modify the schedule?
So, sir, if you're talking about modifying the calendar, one of the components of the calendar that as it is, it's 180 days, so we qualify for the additional school day funding.
Okay.
The reason we had to rescind the year-round calendar is because it spans 11 months, and our goal was to start in August to push back the start date as late as possible. That would have pushed us to July, but we are we're basically right at our minutes of 76,500. And so in the event we go into a closure or school goes into a very short-term enclosure because of COVID, then we would switch to remote learning right away. And so we would continue, we wouldn't have a lapse in instruction.
Okay.
And Ms. Casey, just to clarify, we could do that, excuse me, we could do that because we are ready with the resources and the technology for the students and the teachers. So at a drop of a hat, we're not going to be, struggling with getting last minute things. We are ready to move a full 100% remotely if that is a need, correct?
Correct. And that is something Mr. Soto had talked about earlier.
Yes.
When you all approved the one-to-one devices and the different initiatives, that's exactly why we will be prepared.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification and
thank you.
The peace of mind for everybody. Thank you. So moving on to item 7D. Do I have a motion for that?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, Ms. Limon.
I'd like to make a motion to consider and take possible action to approve and adopt the TASB policy BBE logo for the first reading and action with waiver for the second reading.
Is there a second for Ms. Limon's motion?
Second, ma'am.
Mr. Moreno seconds it, okay. Any discussions or comments on that?
Yes,
Ms.
Madam Chair.
Ortiz. Oh, let me take Ms. Ortiz first, if you don't mind, Mr. Moreno. Go ahead, Ms. Ortiz.
I just would like clarification on that. And maybe Mr. Moreno, is that what he was going to do?
Sure, I was going to do that.
You were?
Yeah.
Great minds think alike. Great minds think alike. Ms. Casey, is that something that you can answer for us, or Mr. Soto?
It's Dr. Salinas.
It'll be Dr. Salinas with Human Resources.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But basically what we're doing in board, in our policy, reviewing our policy is we have this in practice, and if you see the strikeouts, it tells you the changes.
Yes,
so
I saw that.
Basically where it says referring complaints, he or she shall refer them to the superintendent, and it used to say, or another appropriate administrator. It strikes that out and just says superintendent's designee.
Okay.
And then the next one, it says visits to district facilities. It adds, when a board member visits a district facility, including school campus, shall give notice to the superintendent prior to any such visit. And that's been in practice. We just put it in policy.
Okay.
So our policy can reflect what is in practice. But Dr. Salinas, did I miss anything?
No, sir, you did an excellent job.
He's going to take over your job, Dr. Salinas.
Oh, hey, you know what?
Any other comments or questions?
No, Ms. Cavas, just to echo what Mr. Soto said, it's already things that we already have in practice and we've been using for as long as I can remember. So it's not anything new.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to call for the vote if there are no more questions or comments. Mr. Mendoza, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mancha, yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So motion passes. Okay. We have agenda item 8, convene in closed session as authorized by the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Sections 551.071 through 551.084. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chairwoman?
Yes, Ms. Ortiz. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion that the board go into closed session.
Do I have a second? Is there a second on Ms. Ortiz's motion?
Second.
Mr. Mendoza, second. Very well.
Yeah.
We will move forward with the vote. Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no? Did he freeze or is he thinking?
Looks like he's froze.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna, Mr. Resendez, can I go back to his, I don't know where Mr. Rosentes is now. I lost him. Okay. Mr. Mancha, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mendoza, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Moreno? I'll give my vote until Mr. Moreno can unfreeze himself. My vote is yes to go into closed session, convene in closed session.
Do you want to say that you're in favor of going to closed session? Oh, he got thrown into closed session already.
Oh,
and-
okay. The system, okay. So I guess his vote is yes. So
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, so we're going.
Mr. Soto, I am going to need some help because I do not see where it is letting me go to the breakaway room. Bear with me, everybody. I will get this down. I promise I will get this down. Yes, okay. So how do I leave? I leave the meeting, but if I leave the meeting, I leave the whole thing, don't I? Okay. Hold on, let me.
I think I still have access if you want me to do it. Yeah, you're muted. I'll do it right now. Let me see.
So loud, he probably did all the way to his house.
Let me see if I don't know. No, you know what? I don't have breakout rooms.
I don't either. I don't see there. Usually it's around here because that's how
Yeah,
it is
it
at
should
the
be in
office,
it
and
should
I
be
don't see it here.
like a breakout room to the right. Yeah, because we're considered co-host, not the host. Okay, it says I'm the host now, so I can do the breakout room.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moreno, for helping me out. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. Let's see.
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are we waiting for an invitation to leave this room?
Yeah, I'm adding everybody right now, guys.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. See, it takes a team of 7 to get this going.
Okay, and I'm gonna have to. I think Mr. Resendez and I were thrown into a different room, but I left and he stayed, so I might have to do something with that. But
Okay.
it should open.
But
Lila, what are you doing? What? Oh, baby.
Guess what?
Oh, baby.
If you touch the bar in Minecraft, guess what?
What?
You're not. You don't get anything.
Oh, man.
That cool?
Very cool.
You don't lose anything. And also, there's diamonds in this game too. Okay. Right now, I'm building a house.
Huh?
No one having chickens.
Oh, shit.
No one having
Shit.
No one having chickens.
Why?
Chickens are the best.
Oh, yeah?
Huh? Yes, we are. We are right here. Watch. Right here. Does Grandma live next to my other grandma? No, Emma lives far. She kind of lives close to us, to our house. What were we? What would we say? All of us were not together. Why would that be sad? Each other. Huh? Oh, I think I know. You know what I'm upset right now? Why? I haven't Uncle Patrick, remember? You haven't seen Uncle Patrick? You miss seeing Uncle Patrick? Decorate. You know why I said that? Right. What? You did. What's this grandma's favorite color?
I don't know.
I don't see Miss Carrillo. Oh, there's Miss Carrillo. Okay. I believe we are all present. Is that correct? Mr. Mancha, Mr. Moreno, Mr. Mendoza is there.
Liz
Ms.
is
Limon?
muted.
Yes, I'm getting there. Okay. Mr. Mancha, let me unmute Mr. Mancha.
There we go.
Okay, seems everybody's here. It is 9:52 and we are back in open session.
Madam
Yes.
Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'd like to approve the recommended regular personnel report as was discussed in closed session.
Do I have a second on Ms. Limon's motion for
Second.
agenda item 8A?
Second, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Okay. I'm going to call for the vote. Any discussion? I'm going to call for the vote. Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no?
Yes.
Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mancha, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mendoza, yes or no, sir?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So a motion passes to approve recommended regular personnel report per Texas Government Code 551.074. So agenda items 8B, C, and D. No action is needed at this time, and they will be addressed at a future date in a future meeting.
That's B, C, and D.
Yes. Item Agenda item number 8B.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
oh,
Mr.
you're
Moreno.
going to speak on something, or
No. Go ahead.
I was going to move to close the meeting, so.
You're taking Ms. Carrillo's place, Mr. Moreno.
Yeah.
Second on Mr. Moreno's motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Okay. And Mr. Mendoza seconds. Can we have a vote, please? Mr. Mendoza, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Mancha, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno, yes or no, sir?
Yes.
Ms. Ortiz, yes or no?
Yes.
And Ms. Limon, yes or no?
Yes.
So meeting is adjourned. It is now 9:55.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time and your patience with me. I truly appreciate it. Everybody have a good evening and stay safe and stay healthy. We'll see you all soon.
Bye, North.
Bye.
Thank you.
End the meeting, guys.
Okay.